we're really excited to put that on the field, and we're just going to put our nose down and keep on working hard this season.
So if I'm watching over here, like all of the great viewers at Flo on at home are, I butchered that. I was,
You gotta mean business. 5, 6, 7, 8, close 1, 2.
Use the energy, push the air.
The presentation of everything just has to be like we're pro.
Right now I'm like too much at the club.
Don't put that in.
this is not our show, FloMarching. All the way through. 5, 6, 7, lift here.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 10.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah. And then walk into like an up dog position. So, y'all know what that looks like? Not much, Holmes. Oh, man. I'm Derek Hessing. I'm a health and wellness intern here with the Bluecoats. And so the program we have here was developed through Marching Health by Dr. Elliot Cleveland. And so he's got sort of a methodology that he's designed that's intended to give members of marching music organizations the best training program they can get. So we're talking about for drum corps in particular, we need a program that will train them to be better at their show without overloading them so much to the point where they can't do a full 12-hour day of rehearsal. And also to incorporate elements, movement patterns that are more relevant to the drum corps athlete rather than something like a track athlete or a football athlete. There are very distinct differences that we try and account for. Same thing, except out. Cool, right? Out. Whoa! So, thank you.
Being in drum corps is like athletics on steroids. These 14-hour rehearsal days is way more than any athletic team that I've ever been involved with.
There are very unique demands that are placed on a marching music member that aren't necessarily the same as something on a more traditional athlete. So we're thinking about things like movement patterns. We're practicing movements that are going to keep good postural alignment and are going to reinforce things that they're practicing through their marching technique or their dance technique for guard members. And so it's very specific movement-wise and also in terms of the metabolic demands. So we're catering the workouts to be the right length so that their metabolism, their system is well acclimated to that exact duration of exertion so they can be ready for a show. How y'all feel today? This morning was a pretty typical morning for us. We have a cycle we go through. Every day is slightly different. Some days are harder than others. Today was one of our harder days. And so we always start with a dynamic warm-up. We're gonna go through a bunch of movements. We're gonna do things like skipping and shuffling, stuff you actually might see sports teams doing. And that kind of gets the system going, it gets the muscles firing, and it also mobilizes any stiff joints that might be left over from a hard day yesterday. And then we move into our workout portion. So those change from day to day. And so today was an interval day. We did some really hard work for short periods of time so they can get used to exerting themselves to a high level for a short period of time and then recovering so they can really learn how to maximize their recovery time and maximize their effort time. All right, that's all the time I have. So you guys are doing whatever it is you're doing next.
Athletic training and just health in general is fairly new to DCI. There hasn't been a lot dealing with injuries specifically, but now that we have people that can recognize those injuries well, we know how to better cater to the members and the organization. So I think just us being around, providing that extra education to the members and to the organization really goes a long way in keeping everybody healthy and safe throughout the season. They're a really strong group of people, and so any kind of injury, big or small, they know how to take that with a grain of salt, and I think that's kind of cool.
All right, stand back up, shake it out a little bit. So I marched for 6 years at the Colts. I marched for 4 years in the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps, and I've been a personal trainer for several years, so I really have those two loves in my life, are music and fitness, and doing this here is a beautiful way to bring them together. This is actually, to be perfectly honest, this is a dream come true. I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing it with one of the best teams in the entire world. This is a great bunch of folks I'm working with, a great bunch of members that I'm working with, and I couldn't be more happy.
pain, all the blood, sweat, tears we put into this. It's adding up, that's why. All the pain we've been through, we charge it to the game. Nothing was the same now. All the blood we shed too, we charge it to the game. Yeah, charge it to the game, look. All the work we put in, man, we charge it to the game. Now look how everything has changed.
Taking the Field starts now.
And welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Taking the Field, coming to you from FloMarching. My name is Daniel Montoya Jr.
And I am Jen Barton, and we are coming to you live from beautiful Austin, Texas.
The ATX, that's correct. Now, Jen, people in their parents' basements are frantically Googling us to make sure we know what we're talking about. What did you do in drum corps?
I was a performer with the Santa Clara Vanguard Color Guard 2002-2003.
Good years.
And I've been on staff with both the Pacific Crest and Spirit of Atlanta drum corps as tech staff and as a caption head at both places.
It's a very impressive resume. Yeah. I've never marched drum corps, but I've been lucky enough to write for such drum corps as the Colts out of Dubuque, Iowa, and most recently the Guardians out of Seguin/Houston, Texas. Today is very exciting. We are about to watch the Southeastern Championships at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, home of the Atlanta Falcons and
Atlanta United. Both football teams.
Football, yes, the beautiful game. So let's look at the headlines. What is the beat? What is happening this week? Last night we had the Masters of the Summer Music Games at Murfreesboro, and the streak is over. We no longer have an undefeated first place. The Blue Devils bested the Bluecoats last night.
Absolutely, a super exciting facility to perform in, and I know everyone's pushing to put their changes in and ramp up their shows, and Blue Devils ended the streak last night.
They did, and you said putting in changes. The shows are out there. We have new endings. The Bluecoats added a new ending. The Boston Crusaders have a new ending, and the Mandarins have new endings. People are putting the new endings. This is, if they're going to change the show, here it is. We're going to see it.
Yeah, I think the Atlanta Regional is the day where change season kind of comes to a close and the final products are put out onto the field. The last 2 weeks of the season have some of the most iconic stadiums to perform in. It seems every night is just a huge place that's electric with the audiences, and all of these changes are meant to raise those design choices, those creative choices to the next level, so we're getting the top of the game when we get to Lucas Oil.
That's for sure. Now we have 3 days of 3 shows, so you're gonna get these changes clarified and cleaned. Last night, as we mentioned, was Murfreesboro. Today is the Southeastern Championship. Tomorrow is Night Beat. 3 nights. You're going to really test the limits and find out how your core is gonna work.
Yeah, these days where you've got to do a big show, especially these 3 days in a row, 3 pretty big shows for the performers, and then travel a distance, short rehearsal days, lucky to get 2 blocks in. The stamina of the students to deliver electric performances night after night really comes under a test here.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we did talk about the Blue Devils beating the Bluecoats for the first time, and that makes us take a look at the updated rankings for the week. Now, reminder, these are not FloMarching rankings. These are on DCI.org, and while they haven't been fully updated, you can still see the Bluecoats are over the Blue Devils. We have some exciting changes going on, not necessarily just in the top 12, but we have the top 15, those wanting to make it into finals, make it into movie theater. What sticks out to you as you look at the updated rankings for right now?
Well, checking out the rankings, I think the big note to make is that those DCI rankings are the average of the last 3 shows. So there has been some competitive movement this week that's not quite showing up yet in those overall rankings, specifically with the Mandarins that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But for me, internally in those sub-captions, the Boston Crusaders Color Guard has surged up to the top of those Color Guard rankings in the last week to 10 days. As we're moving into more of the indoor performances, their risk versus reward with the outdoor challenges really starts to be a plum for the entire drum corps and how they contribute to the show. They're just on fire, and the rankings for the Color Guard are showing up for that.
Yeah, and it looks like we have a plum battle there in the 12, 13, 14 aspect, those trying to get into that final show, and they're not shown on there, but Pacific Crest, one of your home teams, fighting for that 15th spot so that they're going to be on the movie theater. There's a lot of action going on in the top 15, and not just from the corps that were traditionally used to seeing. We have 2 former champions sort of at the bottom of the 12. And
yeah, battling out.
Yeah, and that's not taking anything away from them, but that gives ample opportunity for Crossmen, Blue Stars, Blue Knights, the Mandarins to really kind of burst into higher rankings than they've ever been before or in quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of those young gun design and education teams are really making some cool things happen with those younger drum corps too.
Absolutely. You can't just rely on your name and say that's the way it's always been. People are hungry and they want those spots. One of the head-to-head matchups that we're really excited about for today is the Phantom Regiment versus the Spirit of Atlanta. Earlier this year, the Spirit of Atlanta bested the Phantom Regiment for the first time since maybe 1986. I cannot be sure. And this was at Phantom Regiment's home show. Today, we are at Spirit of Atlanta's home show. So does Phantom Regiment come in and repay the favor, or does Spirit of Atlanta defend their home turf? Phantom Regiment, what do you think?
Well, Phantom is super hungry to maintain that finalist spot. Those performers and teachers are super motivated right now, so I know that they're coming in with a fierce sense of competitiveness, but you have to look at where we are in the country. Spirit of Atlanta just came off the Swamp Tour the last 5 days. Those shows and those communities are fierce and loyal supporters for the Spirit of Atlanta, and tonight it's all going to come to that perfect fruition for them. Show's always going to be electric for Spirit of Atlanta. Now, the key thing to note about today is that they're going to perform with a few drum corps in between them, so we won't see a head-to-head matchup tonight, but tomorrow at Night Beat we will see Phantom and Spirit back to back, so we'll get a much closer comparison. So that will tell a story both today and tomorrow with that change in competitive dynamics.
Right, and earlier this year, Phantom struggling a little bit out of the gate, but they're taking the judges' critiques and suggestions to heart. They've been moving up the rankings, but then Monday, all of a sudden, Spirit and Phantom went head-to-head in Mesquite, and Spirit closed that gap. What is it that's helping Spirit get a little bit closer to Phantom Regiment?
One of the notable captions that's keeping Spirit really in the hunt is going to be the visual analysis caption. They've got I'm looking at my numbers here. Right now they have a 3/10 spread on them, which is pretty significant, but it's a big ranking gap when you're putting in the rest of the drum corps in there. So the visual analysis caption is making the story for Spirit to keep closing that gap, but it's also notable at the top of the rankings as well, how there are 3 drum corps that are sharing 3 of the visual captions.
Yeah, when we look into our section breakdown, we're going to focus on visual, and you mentioned it, 3 different drum corps. We have the Boston Crusaders, the Blue Devils, and the Bluecoats splitting those 3 captions. Specifically right now, Bluecoats and Blue Devils going neck and neck. Blue Devils, more often than not right now, taking the visual proficiency caption. The Blue Devils in visual analysis, and the Boston Crusaders in color guard. 3 of them fighting for it right now, overall going to the Blue Devils, but still, it seems like that caption right now is just going kind of crazy with all of them.
Well, the visual analysis caption is one that is kind of open to interpretation, I think sometimes. It's really looking at how the pieces of the puzzle are put together, the arrangement of the creative choices, and looking also in hand with visual proficiency, the idea that there's less drill-based motion going on. We have more staging. The performers have way more simultaneous responsibilities, particularly the instrumentalists, having to add movement to their responsibilities while playing and without. And that visual analysis caption is really aiding the Blue Devils in this surge that they're having in the last week.
Yeah, we are no longer just marching and playing our instrument. Like you mentioned, there's this simultaneous responsibility of playing, of dancing, of moving, assisting other people. Some are holding an instrument, spinning a flag, I'm assuming, I don't know. But
anything's possible.
It is. It's crazy. They look like, well, you've got 2 arms and 2 legs. Let's use them all the time. And then you have to play your instrument.
And every drum corps has a different approach to how they utilize those simultaneous responsibilities. Crown was one of the first horn lines to really get deep into the movement, especially like in their training program too. And now it's just growing and growing and growing to how the different drum corps are implementing different styles of movement. Santa Clara and introducing some modern and some more street style hip hop movement too. It's all what your creative intent is, which is really cool to see, and sometimes hard to make those calls.
Yeah, totally cool to see the different visual identities of the drum corps. So we have corps moving up, we have corps moving down. We are going to buy or sell some corps. We're going to see who's got the juice, who's got the sauce, what's going on. And I think right now, the Sacramento Mandarins, they've got the mojo. They're climbing. What is it about them that's making us want to buy stock in the Mandarins right now?
Really the passion of those performers and the whole team, the success of them jumping into finals last year has just grown like a forest fire for that group, I believe. And director J.W. Kester, who's a fantastic human being, has got a team assembled, teaching that group, motivating that group, and students that are just hungry for more success.
Yeah, and we can't underestimate the importance of adding Ike Jackson to the design team out of Ayala, working together with Key Poulan and the music arrangements. It's just like they've caught lightning in the bottle. Last year, they didn't just go into finals. They broke down the door, and this year I think they're going to just destroy the whole house. Beating the cadets for the first time is not just enough for them. They are climbing. They want to get up into
Absolutely.
that upper top 6, top 8. Mandarins, you got to buy stock in them. If we buy stock into core, we got to sell stock into core. So wait, I'm being told we don't have time to sell cores. Yes. Well, today we are going into the fan favorite here at DCI Southeastern. If you click in the link in the description below, you will see how you can vote for your fan favorite. Vote for them. We'll talk about the results later on today. Vote. And Jen, if you were going to vote for fan favorite, who do you think it would be today?
Ooh, it's hard to say. There's so much exciting action going on competitively, and there's so many exciting shows too that it's hard to choose one. You've got to look at the home team and the push for Spirit of Atlanta, but I think today the Bluecoats might come out on top.
That's a fun show. That would be my fan favorite, but you're right. There might be a big heap and wop of home cooking today. So
that baby blue likes to come out and support.
So hopefully no one's interfering with our elections on the fan favorite, and let's see how that goes. So yeah, so today the DCI Southeastern Championship at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. It's going to be an exciting show. We will see you later on today, and we'll throw it to Atlanta.
Peace up. A-Town down.
I was really thinking about at that point in my life was wrestling. And if I stay on this leg and he pulls me down.
So if I'm watching over here, like all of the great viewers at at home are, I butchered that.
Hey, you're up.
You got to mean business.
5, 6, 7, 8, close 1, 2.
Use the energy. Push the air.
The presentation of everything just has to be like we're pro.
Right now I'm like too much at the club.
Don't put that in.
This is not our show, FloMarching. All the way through. 5, 6, 7, lift here.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 10.
Here we go.
Genesis. From Casper, Wyoming, the Troopers. From Diamond Bar, California, Pacific Crest. From Madison, Wisconsin, the Madison Scouts. From Dubuque, Iowa, the Colts. From Atlanta, Georgia, Spirit of Atlanta. From Tempe, Arizona, the Academy. From San Antonio, Texas, the Crossmen. From Rockford, Illinois, Phantom Regiment. From Sacramento, California, the Mandarins. From La Crosse, Wisconsin, the Blue Stars. From Denver, Colorado, the Blue Knights. From Allentown, Pennsylvania, the Cadets. From Fort Mill, South Carolina, Carolina Crown. From Boston, Massachusetts, the Boston Crusaders. From Rosemont, Illinois, the Cavaliers. From Concord, California, the Blue Devils. From Canton, Ohio, the Bluecoats. And from Santa Clara, California, the Santa Clara Vanguard. At this time, would you please rise for the playing of our national anthem as presented by Michael Nevedek of Atlanta CV.